I'm filming.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay, I haven't even started talking yet. I don't know what to film about! What should I do?
We could talk about... Dude, I don't know. Have you read any books lately?
I think I want to talk about Spook'S Apprentice. Get out!
Hi.
Get out! And that's how this video is going to start. If you're the kind of person who's seriously missing Harry Potter or just are dying for another Percy Jackson book, if you are into amazing stories with awesome heroes and heroines and just all the goodness of Harry Potter and Percy Jackson, I have a series just for you. A pretty long while back, one of my friends suggested that I read The Spook'S Apprentice. I didn't know what it was, and when I tried to look it up, it said it was only available in the UK, and so for a while I just didn't read it, and then I'd forgotten all about it, and then one day, randomly, I'm just walking around the bookstore, and there it is, the first book. And I thought, I like the cover art. This seems like the kind of book I would like to read. This seems very, Percy Jackson-ish. Children's books that aren't children's books. I was hooked 5 pages in. Oh, it is so good. It is such a good series, and I love it so much. It's brilliant. And the good news is, it's like a ton of books. Have you ever read a series you really love and there's only like 3 books in it? This is like, I'm fairly certain we're at 11 books at this point. Guys, it's friggin' awesome. It's about this kid named Tom who's the 7th son of the 7th son, and he goes to be the Spook'S Apprentice, and the Spook is this guy who just goes from town to town and eliminates boggarts and, faces against witches and just all this it's like, I can't even summarize it all into a little bundle, okay? I can't do it. It is so good, and you must read it. And for those of you who have read it, I feel like a creep because they're only children. Well, they're only children in the beginning, but they are not children anymore. But I ship Tom and Alice like my life depends on it. And my life might depend on it. I love the Spook, and I love Grimalkin. I got a pretty big kick out of Grimalkin's book, actually, if I'm saying her name right. Hey, I have a joke. How do you know Grimalkin's at a dinner party? Don't worry. She'll tell you. I am Grimalkin. I am the great Grimalkin. She's the great Grimalkin. That's Grimalkin. So, you'll never forget her name. Ever. 24601. I think my favorite part of these books is the protagonist, Tom. He's just such a good kid. He makes mistakes constantly, but he means well and he wants to serve his master. He's very dutiful, and it's weird because he's obedient, but at the same time, he's really good at following his gut. Or really bad at it, depending on how you look at it. He's very loyal to his master, the Spook, but at the same time, when he feels like something needs to be done that the Spook doesn't approve of, he's probably gonna do it. In the beginning of the series, he just has this, unadulterated innocence about him, paired with this bad-A attitude that shocks you over and over again. Because he goes to live with the Spook and he's like, oh gosh, what's a boggart? How do you deal with a witch? I don't know what to do. Then when worse comes to worse, bad-A Tom rises. He just does what he needs to do. I love Tom. I'm going to admit it, I found Alice a little bit irritating at first. I didn't really understand her reasons for being how she is. I'm evil, but I don't want to be good, but I want to be evil. But I want to be good, but I don't want to be good because I'm naturally evil. But I'm good, I swear. Okay, Alice. It wasn't until I got 3 or 4 books in that I was like, alright, I understand. I see why she's like this. I see how she was raised and why she feels the way she does. And it's hard to stay frustrated with her because I just feel bad for her. Did I mention I ship Tom and Alice? Did I? Because I do. I don't remember what book it was, but at one point when she's being dragged away to, what do they call it? Basically, this book's equivalent of hell. And Tom is like, I just realized that I love her. And I'm like, This series is incredibly emotional and pretty well set up for adults as well as children. While it's got some of the silliness of a children's book and, you know, magic and witches and all that fun stuff that little boys and girls love, it's also got, like, blood and severed heads and guts and torn up bodies and Grimalkin, who is just insane. And deeper messages. You know, the importance of loyalty and family that have long separated coming back together. Prejudice, fear of what you don't understand, pride, unhealthy romantic relationships. Like, you think I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. These are things discussed in these books. In my opinion, what makes a good children's story is a story that can be read by anyone. And the Spook'S Apprentice books are amazing. I've actually been meaning to review these for a while, but I kept forgetting, and I just love them. I love them so much. I promise you, once you start, you will just eat them up. You will finish them like a beautiful pizza. Just the next book and the next book and the next book and the next book, and you will not be able to stop. At least I couldn't. I was basically a shut-in. I read like 10 books in the span of like less than a week. If you're still living with your parents, be warned. It's one of those books where it'll make you look like a social recluse. And if you're living with just a random roommate, well, be warned. It's one of those books that'll make you look like you're a social recluse. I don't even know, I don't have any bad things to say. It's just incredibly clever and very well written, and it doesn't seem that intricate of a plot at first. Like, you'll read the first book and it's like, yeah, this is pretty simple. Get the bad guy, get the witch, bound the boggart, you know. I compare it to Harry Potter and Percy Jackson because the pacing is similar. It starts out like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a simple story about a wizard, about a demigod, about Tom. No, it's not. As the books go on, you realize how completely intricate and carefully put together this plot is, and there's just little tie-ins here and there that are just so brilliantly placed. Like, recently I was rereading, I don't know, the 9th or 10th book, and I remember reading something specifically that he had mentioned in the first book, and I was like, oh my gosh, it makes sense now. That's the best thing. Because, you know, the author isn't just pumping these out. He put thought into this. And I appreciate that. It's like when somebody gives you a gift that they put a lot of thought and effort into. That's how I feel when I read a good book. You need to read these books. You need to do this. Just, I cannot press you enough. They are magnificent. Alright. Europe is coming. I have much packing to do. But has 2 thumbs and hasn't started packing for a 6-week trip to Europe. Heyo. So while I'm packing, you go read Spook'S Apprentice. How's that sound? Read it, read it, read it, read it, read it, read it.